Good morning. Hi. Welcome back to another week of learning. I know you're super excited about that. We'll be having videos Monday through Thursday of this week, and then Thursday night we'll be having our Zoom meeting. So I look forward to seeing you all there. So let's start with this week's learning and what we're going to be doing. Let me flip my phone around. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about what will happen to Dwight. So let's see what our word is going to be. Our word is going to be conclusion. And there are some pictures to help you with your word. So you need to get your paper out for Word Nerd and write down your word conclusion. And then put what part of speech it is, the definition, and a sentence. Put a synonym and an antonym, and that will be good for that. Now, we're going to be having a new skill this week. We've talked about main idea and details. The last 2 weeks we've been talking about different parts of figurative language, like alliteration and personification, and other things. Idioms, we will this week talk about drawing conclusions. So drawing conclusions, and your word happens to be conclusion, and there's a reason for that because I wanted you to kind of look that up because it goes with what our skill in reading is this week. So drawing a conclusion, let's look back at the screen. It says drawing conclusions, using information that is implied or inferred to make meaning out of what is not clearly stated. Writers give readers hints or clues to help them read between the lines, just like a detective looking for clues. And that's why we have the magnifying glass on there, so drawing conclusions. So that means that when you are looking, sometimes they will ask you a question and the answer is not in black and white in your story. And that is because they want you to figure out the answer by using clues from the story as to what the answer might be. So when a detective solves a case, they have evidence of things that could have happened, and then they put that evidence together to come up with who the suspect might be. That's the same thing you're going to do when you draw a conclusion. So let's look on here. Flip around. Okay, so I want you to, oops, I should have left it this way, sorry. Okay, so you're gonna write something today, and when you do something that has to do with drawing a conclusion, you wanna do some steps to come up with that answer to whatever the question is. So here are some things that you should do to come up with an answer by drawing conclusions. Now we'll look at that. Okay, so we have, let me get my pointer. That'll be better. Okay, we have underline, highlight, or list the clues, hints in the story, organize your information, and make a guess based on your information. So this is a good thing to do. Once they've asked you the question, you go back and look for hints or clues throughout your story, and then you either underline them or use your highlighter or make a list of those clues or hints that go with whatever the question is. Then you want to organize your information. You can make a list, you could draw a graphic organizer, you could make a T-chart, a foursquare, all kinds of different graphic organizers to put that information in to help you decide what the answer is. And then you make a guess based on your information. That means you're going to draw a conclusion, you're going to guess according to what, I guess I could leave that down here, what your information is. Okay, so when you draw a conclusion, you don't have every answer in black and white. And what I mean by that is it's not going to say the answer right there in the story. And there's a reason for that because authors want you to use your imagination and to think a little when you read. And that's a good thing. So what my assignment is going to be is I want you to draw a conclusion today. I'm going to read the next chapter, and it's going to be about Tommy going to Dwight's house. And after we get done with that, I want you to use all the clues so far in your Darth Paper Strikes Back book to draw a conclusion as to what you think is going to happen at the school board meeting. Okay, now let me show you. Here's the assignment so you can see it for those of you that need to see it. It says use all the clues so far in Darth Paper Strikes Back to draw a conclusion about what you think is going to happen at the school board meeting. Now here's how I did my paper. You can use any kind of paper you want. I wrote at the top, school board meeting. I made a T chart. See how it looks like a T to organize my information. On this side, I'm going to list all my pieces of evidence. I drew down here a little bit, little doodling. And then on this side, what conclusions can I make according to this evidence about what could happen? So I'm going to list my evidence, what conclusions can be made, and then when I get done, I will write down what I think could happen at the school board meeting according to my evidence. Okay, and so I did one for you on here just to give you a little example. And it's all throughout the story. So we have to think of all the things that have happened in this story, like them teaching the little kid how to ride his skateboard, the pencil wars, him telling Jen 0 hour comes, the hummingbird hawk moth. Let me think what else. The cure for Caroline when she goes to school, that she isn't deaf anymore. Let me see, there was one about Murky. I'm gonna look it up. I can't remember what his Murky. Oh, Murky got the answer about where Yoda actually comes from Star Wars, and he was super excited about that. That's why I couldn't remember that one. That's a very short chapter. So all the different things about what has gone on in our story remember, they didn't have to sell anything for the fundraiser. They sold nothing. They got money for that. The body odor from the drama play. Shoot, let me think. Oh, the hot dog. So there's all kinds of things. So you have to give your evidence as to what you think is going to happen at the school board according to what happened in those chapters. So mine was, my evidence, I put Dwight found a hummingbird hawk moth because Origami Yoda said he would. Okay, so that was when Harvey got really mad because of all that, and Dwight really found one, and he was not happy about that, and they got a 100. Well, drawing my conclusion about that is Origami Yoda could be real, since he said that Dwight would find a hummingbird hawk moth. So that's a conclusion I could draw. Now, what would that have to do with the school board meeting? Well, that tells me that in that particular letter, it's proof that Dwight is a good guy and did what he said he was going to do according to Yoda. So that's one example that you could use. There's all kinds, and you can go back and look at the other videos if you don't remember the story too. So that's your assignment. You're gonna do your paper. Do your paper. Okay. All right. So that's that. Now let's be reading our next chapter. It's kind of long. Let me put my phone up here. Let me flip this. Oh, whoops. Let me see if I can see you. Hi, there you are. Okay, so this chapter was at the end of the last chapter. Harvey has stolen the, let me make this so it's not going to slide down. There we go. Okay, Harvey has stolen the case file after he said that he could look at it. He takes it and writes all over it, and Harvey's like, I'm going to be at the school board meeting too. Save me a seat. So now Kellen and Tommy have to worry about Harvey showing up and saying all of his things, because he said if they don't tell what he wrote in the case file, then he's gonna say it anyway. And so Origami Yoda is gone and can't give Tommy any advice as to what he's going to do or what he should do, because Dwight got suspended from school. And Tommy has tried desperately to email Dwight, and he's tried to call Dwight, and the only reply he has gotten the whole time is that Dwight would like a Rubik's Cube sandwich. So that's it. So he has decided he is going to go over to Dwight's house and talk to him. And here is the chapter. There's Origami Yoda up there. It says Origami Yoda and the 5 Folds by Tommy. So this is by Tommy. Dwight and Sarah both live over on one of those little dead-end streets off Cascade Drive. Not that far from me, really, but I had never been back there before, other than crossing Route 24. It's a pretty easy bike ride. I knew Sarah's address because we wrote a few letters over the summer. I passed her house first, but I didn't see her outside or anything. I was kind of glad. I didn't have any idea what I would say to her. Dwight's house is right next to hers. I guess I figured that since Dwight was so weird, his house would be really weird too. But it looked totally normal. I didn't see any holes in the yard. Sarah says he's always sitting in the holes in the yard, but those must be in the backyard. I did see the fence that Sarah's dad had built, so he wouldn't have to look at Dwight sitting in the holes. I knocked on the door. No answer. Then I saw the doorbell, so I rang it. Dwight's mom came to the door. I had seen her at school that one time, but I didn't actually know her. Hi, Mrs. Thorpe. I'm Dwight's friend Tommy. I really need to talk to him. Oh, Tommy, well, see. And she tells me all this stuff about how Dwight is grounded and isn't allowed to call people or use the computer or play video games, but how she hadn't actually made a rule against people coming over. However, if she had thought that someone might, she probably would have. But since she didn't, and on and on and on, I realized she was really talking to herself more than me. I wanted to go, you're the mom? Just say yes or no? Instead, I said, this is really important, Mrs. Thorpe. I really need to talk to Dwight about the school board meeting tomorrow night. She finally let me in. The house was weird, but only because it was so unweird that it was weird. It was like this beach house my family stayed in for 1 week, one time in one summer. You could tell that no one really lived there and that all the stuff was just there to like fill up the blank space, not because anyone had really liked it. Dwight's up in his room. I will call him down. Actually, Mrs. Thorpe, maybe I could talk to him in there? You never know what Dwight is going to be like. I sort of pictured him jumping up and shaking my hand. Hey, Tommy, I've missed you guys. Thanks for working on this case file for me. Instead, I got to his room, and he was slouched on his bed, just staring at the floor with a shoe in his hand. He looked over at me, but more like at my feet. Dwight, his mother fussed, your friend is here. Can't you sit up and say hello? Hello. It didn't really give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. His room was almost empty. I thought he'd have Star Wars posters and action figures and all kinds of stuff. Nope. The stuff on the walls was obviously stuff his mother had put up when he was in preschool. Seriously, who has a fake anchor hanging on their wall? The only thing that was Dwight-like was origami. There was a huge pile of it on top of his dresser. The dresser had all of its drawers open and clothes were hanging out. Oh, Dwight, I really thought you were going to put those clothes away neatly, his mother said. He got up slowly and started to move toward the dresser. Well, it's too late now. Don't do it now. You have a guest. Dwight sat back down on his bed. Well, I'll let you boys talk, his mom said. She walked out of the room, but stood near the door looking back for a while. Finally, she left. Dwight came to life a little bit, but not much. Dwight, have you gotten any of my emails or anything? No. When Sarah brought me the Ribicue sandwich, my mom realized I was emailing people and took away my computer, my cell phone, everything. Your TV too? I asked, since that's my parents' favorite thing to take away. I wasn't allowed to watch TV to start with, he said. No TV? Whew, that explains a lot. No wonder he has never any idea what we're talking about. Well, listen, Dwight, I've got some bad news. I need your help. Can you get out Origami Yoda? My mom took him. Oh man, we need him. There's big trouble. It's Harvey. Dwight looked up at me for the first time. Then he looked at the floor again. I was stupid and I let him read the case file. And you remember the one Origami Yoda told me to make? The case file Origami Yoda told me to make? Now Harvey's created sort of an anti-case file. He makes you sound awful and he's going to read it to the school board tomorrow night. Huh? Yeah, I think you'll end up at CREF for sure. Are you listening, Dwight? You don't want to go to CREF. Seriously. Dwight looked at his door for a minute. Then he walked over to his dresser and pulled out a piece of green origami paper out of a plastic bag. I'll make you an emergency Yoda, he said. This is my new 5-fold method. It took him about 15 seconds and he had a Yoda finger puppet. Sort of. It wasn't much more than a rectangle with 2 triangle ears sticking out. That's cool, I said. But isn't it kind of, simple? Thanks, he said, and he drew a face on it with a ballpoint pen. In origami, simplicity can be more valuable than complexity. The key is choosing only the necessary details. Yeah, what I meant was, it's so simple. Is it still going to be able to use the Force? Judge me by the number of folds, do you? The new Origami Yoda said. Oh, no, I said. Worried about Harvey, are you? Yes, it's like he's gone to the dark side. He's walking around with Darth paper, and now he's got this. Worry, do not, said Origami Yoda. Make it right. I will. This is serious. If we don't stop him, he's going to get you sent to craft. He's being a total jerk about it. I hate him. No, said Origami Yoda. Hate to the dark side only leads. Well, then I really, really dislike him. No, said Yoda. Forgive him, you must. Forgive him? He's getting you thrown out of school. He's just doing it to be mean. Difficult it is to be right when no one believes you. Dwight, is that Yoda talk? His mother had shown up at the door. I'm sorry to do this in front of your guest, but this is going to be strike 3. I can't believe you've made another Yoda after I caught you talking to Sarah with it and specifically told you not to make another one. Give it to me. He handed it to her. She unfolded it. Sorry, but this is going in the recycling bin. Tommy, I think you better go home. Thank you very much for coming to see Dwight. Hopefully he will be back in school soon and you will be able to see him there. As soon as she started to say the hopefully part, her voice cracked a little. She looked like she was going to cry. I figured it would be best if I left quickly. I wasn't going to get to talk to Origami Yoda anymore, and I wasn't getting anywhere with Dwight anyway. Forgive Harvey? No, I couldn't do that. Was Dwight crazy? But even weirder was that thing about how being right is difficult. Surely he didn't mean that Harvey was right, because that would mean that Origami Yoda really was a phony. Is that what he meant? It's Friday, the day of the school board meeting. But before I go to the meeting, I'm going to go ahead and write down what happened at school today. It was huge and bad, hugely bad. At lunch, Kellen and I were discussing ways to stop Harvey. I have to admit that most of them involved one or both of us punching him. Sarah walked over with a note. For a minute, I thought it was going to be a note from her to me. Maybe she had changed her mind about Tater Tot and was going to come and be my girlfriend. Maybe Origami had done it. Maybe it was an apology love note. But it wasn't from her, and it wasn't for me. I saw Dwight this morning, she said. He threw this letter out of his window at me when I went to get on the bus. He asked me to bring it to the table here at lunch. She gave me the envelope. I'm pretty curious, she said, so if you don't mind, I want to stay and find out what it says. This is what it said. Don't open yet. Please have Harvey read this letter out loud at the lunch table. Don't read the letter without Harvey. We figured this letter was part of Origami Yoda's plan, and he must have a reason for doing it this way, so Kellen went across the cafeteria to get Harvey. I could see them arguing. Harvey was being a stubborn butt, as usual. But he finally came over with Darth paper, of course. You may dispense with the pleasantries, Tommy, said Darth paper. It is a new uncrumpled one. I wasn't going to use any pleasantries, I said, and gave Harvey the envelope. He opened it up and pulled out a sheet of paper. Origami Yoda fell out and fluttered to the floor. I snatched him up. It wasn't the 5-fold one. It was a real one. Harvey started reading. Dear everybody, especially Harvey. Harvey is right about Origami Yoda. Woo! Shouted Harvey. Finally at last. Hala Yoda lo lo ya ya ya. I told you, I told you, I told you. Seriously, Harvey, what does it say? That's what it says. Look. He handed me the letter. He started doing a little dance. And you all thought I was being a jerk, but I was right the whole time. Maybe, but you were also a jerk the whole time, said Sarah. Me and Kellen and everybody were all trying to read the letter at once. Here's what the whole thing said. Dear everybody, especially Harvey. Harvey is right about Origami Yoda. It's just a piece of paper. A really nice piece of paper, but just paper. There is no force, just me talking. Tommy, you can have Origami Yoda. My mom threatened to recycle it too. Don't lose it. Keep it in one of your case files. Not because it's magic, just to remember all the stuff that happened. Dwight Thorpe. P.S. Thanks for the Ribicue sandwich. If they have it again, please buy me one and give it to Sarah again. I wonder if they will have Ribicues at Cref. That letter was like the saddest thing I had ever read. I thought he was going to come up with some kind of amazing Jedi plan. Instead, he was just giving up. Harvey stood up on his chair. He raised Darth paper in the air over his head. Now I am the master, shouted Darth Paper. This is a day that will be long remembered. It has seen the death of Origami Yoda, and tonight it will see the end of Dwight. The bell rang. The crazy thing about school is that no matter what's going on, when the bell rings, you have to get up and move. So even though everything was a disaster and I had no idea what to do next, and the one thing I believed in turned out to be a piece of paper, and the main thing I wanted to do was knock Harvey off the chair, I just sort of moved like a burnt-out droid toward my locker. I had Origami Yoda in my hand, just a piece of paper. Now there was no hope that he was going to come back and make everything right again. He wasn't even real. Then I started to wonder about the case file. Why was I making a case file? Because Origami Yoda had told me to? But if Origami Yoda wasn't real, this sounds really bad, but for one tiny second, I wondered why I should care if it worked. I was so mad. I thought it really didn't care anymore if Dwight got kicked out. I mean, I believed in Origami Yoda. I did all kinds of stuff because he told me to, and it was all a joke or something. But in a weird way, it wasn't Dwight I was mad at. Plus, I started to think how pathetic he must feel, sitting at home, getting yelled at by his mom, worrying about Cref, and then having to bow down and write that letter to Harvey. I knew I still wanted to help him, but I had no idea how. Then I had a crazy idea. I put Origami Yoda on my thumb. What can I do? I asked. He didn't answer. We were all doomed. I was almost to my locker when I saw Principal Rabsky up ahead. She likes to stand in the middle of the hallway so that all the kids detour around her. I put my hand up and pointed Origami Yoda right at her. If you strike down Dwight, he will grow more powerful than you can possibly imagine, said Origami Yoda. Rabsky sighed. Tommy, I think it is time you and I had a little talk. She made me follow her into the private office. I had never been in there before, not to change the subject, but she has a Rubik's 4x4 cube on her desk. Solved. Listen, Tommy, she started. I've heard about your petition or whatever it is that you are going to be giving the school board tonight. I can't talk to you about another student's disciplinarian problems, but there are a few things that you need to understand. She had a lot to say. A lot of it was about the standards of learning test that we have to take and how important they are to the students and to the school. She said some students were a constant distraction from the standards of learning. Not only were they hurting themselves, but they were hurting the other students. And the whole school, since school funding was based on stupid test scores. When I see you in the office for screaming at another student one day, and the next day you are talking down the hall with a Yoda puppet, being disrespectful to me. That just proves my point, she said. You're a good kid, but another kid has got you confused and distracted. I need you to put Yoda away. Put your petition away and concentrate on the real reason you are here, to learn, to ace the standards test. Well, I was confused and distracted, but there was no way I was buying all that. It had an Emperor Palpatine sound to it. You know, all that I'm bringing peace to the galaxy stuff he says. I appreciate what you're doing for your friend. I really do. But I hope I'll be able to understand that maybe what I've decided is what's best for Dwight, okay? I'll never join you. Never, I thought to myself. But I did not say that out loud because that seemed like a good way to end up in ISS for the rest of the day. Well, now I'm home. I've propped Origami Yoda up next to my computer, and he seems to be watching me carefully. It's time for me to go rescue my friend. I hope Origami Yoda thinks that I am ready. Okay, so Tommy is going to go to the school board meeting, and now he knows the principal knows. He went to go get Dwight's help. Dwight tried to help him, and Dwight's mom didn't want him to. Then he also went to the school, and Sarah brought him the letter, and it had a new real Origami Yoda in it, the real one that they've been using. And he doesn't have a plan. He put him on his finger, thought he'd talk to him, didn't talk to him, but then gets in the hall and tells the principal what he thinks. And of course, Harvey's elated because the letter said that he is not real. Okay. So I want you to have to guess right now what's going to happen at the school board meeting. Draw a conclusion, do your paper. All right, got to go quick because our time's running out. Okay, so this is factor cred for today. According to a Connecticut law, for a pickle to be considered a real pickle, it must bounce. Bounce. So in Connecticut, the state of Connecticut, if you want it to be a pickle, you have to have your pickle bounce. Okay, now I'm going to give you another drawing conclusion question. Today is Devil Dog Day. See that? Okay, so I want you right now, I'm going to play the Jeopardy theme song, and you have to draw a conclusion as to what you think Devil Dog Day is. Alexa, play the Jeopardy theme song. Are you thinking?
Theme from Jeopardy, Pink Music by TV Sound.
Here she goes.
On Amazon Music.
Do you know what a devil dog is? All right. Okay, so maybe you had a guess in your head of what a devil dog is. Here is what it is. It's a cake. It's a cake on top and a cake on bottom with cream frosting in the middle. So let me know if you've ever tried a devil dog cake before. They still make them. They're from the 1920s. All right, hope you have a good day. Do your homework. Draw a conclusion as to what you think is going to happen to Dwight at the school board meeting using your evidence. I love you. And remember, kindness is a language everyone can hear. Bye.